Hello and welcome to this IELTS speaking video. In this video I'll look at the part 2 topic, describe a time somebody didn't tell you the whole truth about something. You should say when this happened, what the situation was, who it was, and explain why the person didn't tell the whole truth. And at the end of the video I'll look at a couple of part 3 questions connected with this topic. This is an incredibly tricky question because often we don't know whether people are telling the whole truth or not. There are two types of lies, black lies and white lies. Black lies are the big bad ones and are usually used for a bad reason. However, white lies are usually used to protect someone or not offend someone, and I guess that people tell white lies on a daily basis. When it comes to a lie that I was told and am aware of, the only time I can think of off the top of my head is a time when my daughter told me a little white lie because she didn't want to hurt my feelings. My daughter is a real foodie, and on the whole, she loves everything I make. There was this one time though, and I can remember it vividly because it was her birthday, when I made her a birthday cake and it looked fabulous, but she didn't like it. The thing is, I had made it using dark chocolate, which is rich and quite bitter, and she prefers milk chocolate because it is much sweeter, not as healthy, but much tastier all the same. As soon as she put a piece of the cake in her mouth, I could tell from her facial expression that she didn't like it. But because I had put so much effort into making such a special cake, she felt she had to say something complimentary. "Wow, that's delicious," she lied. "You don't like it," I said. She kept insisting that she did, but I wasn't convinced. I won't make her that cake again because I know she doesn't like it, but she's too polite to tell the truth. The problem is that when you tell a lie, you have to continue with the lie or you will be found out. I once told a little white lie about a box of chocolates that a friend bought me, so now she buys them for me every birthday. Maybe I will grow to like them. I still think it is the right thing to do. If you are in a situation where someone could be offended or hurt by what you say, then little white lies are better than telling the truth. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the language. This is an incredibly tricky question because also useful for part 3 answers, just to give you a little bit of thinking time when you start your answer. And tricky means difficult, incredibly tricky, very difficult. Now the question asks about people telling the whole truth. And this is a collocation we use to tell the whole truth, and it means to be completely truthful. And as I explain here, we have this difference between the black lies, which are the bad ones, and the white lies, which are the good lies, we could call them. So they're not really bad ones. And when we tell a white lie, we usually want to protect someone, not offend someone. If you offend someone, you hurt their feelings. So for example, if somebody says to you, "You're fat and ugly," they offend you. So this is to offend someone, to hurt their feelings. I guess instead of using "I think" all the time, try to use these alternatives. I guess, I feel, I believe, I reckon. And very useful for IELTS writing as well, on a daily basis, meaning every day, on a weekly basis, every week, on an annual basis, every year. People tell lies and we are told lies, the passive. So a lie I was told and am aware of. If you are aware of something, you know about it. Now, although my daughter didn't tell me that she told a lie, I knew because of her reactions. Now, I've used this one a few times and I think it is great for IELTS Speaking Part 2. You could use it in any topic that you get. The only time I can think of, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, and it means without having much thinking time. She didn't want to hurt my feelings. If you say something bad to somebody, it hurts their feelings. So this is very useful for this topic. Someone who is a foodie loves food. So a real foodie, she's a real food lover. On the whole, generally, you can use this in IELTS writing as well. I can remember it vividly. Very good for this topic because you're often talking about something and you're having to think back to a time when. I can remember it vividly. I can remember it clearly. It looked fabulous. It looked great. The thing is, we use the thing is a lot in speaking. When you're going to say something, you say, the thing is, I don't really like pizza. The thing is, I can't really remember when it was. It is a filler expression and it's very useful. I had made it, so past perfect, because I'd made it prior to giving her it. Rich is an adjective that we use to describe food that has a very intense, a very strong flavour. And this is dark chocolate. It's also called plain chocolate because it doesn't have the sweet taste of milk chocolate. So it's rich, it's strong in flavour and it's quite bitter. So bitter is the opposite of sweet. It's not a very nice flavour. All the same can be used in an informal way. It's a bit like saying though or however or nevertheless. So it's quite a useful word for IELTS speaking. Facial expressions are when you look at somebody's face, you can tell if they're happy, they're pleased, they're angry, they're sad. This is your facial expression. So very useful for this topic because you can usually tell if somebody is lying from their facial expression, what their face looks like. To put a lot of effort or put so much effort into doing something, it's followed by an ing verb. So I'd worked hard. To say something complimentary means to say something nice, to say, oh, it's great, it's delicious, it's wonderful. That's to say something complimentary. But I know she lied, which is the opposite of to tell the truth. If you keep insisting, you keep saying the same thing and saying, no, it's great, I love it. It's fantastic. So you're trying to persuade, trying to convince the other person that what you're saying is true. But I wasn't convinced. If you're not convinced, you don't believe it. This is a very good word for IELTS writing task 2. You can say something like, I am not convinced that reducing the number of cars on the road will vastly improve the environment, something like that. So I am convinced, you do believe it. I am not convinced, you don't believe it. If somebody's very polite, they don't want to upset or hurt somebody and they behave in a very good way. If you tell a lie, you might be found out. To be found out means that the people who you've told the lie to discover that it was a lie. Maybe I'll grow to like them. When we're talking about something we don't like, you grow to like it. So if you eat it enough or you listen to a particular type of music enough, you might grow to like it. And these two words, very useful for this topic. So if somebody lies, you could be offended or hurt, and it just means upset and annoyed. Your feelings are hurt by what they've said. Okay, so let's have a look now at a couple of part 3s connected with this topic. So if you get this topic in your IELTS speaking test, they might ask you in part 3, why do people lie? Well, some people are compulsive liars and they just cannot tell the truth. If you are a compulsive liar, you just lie and it's very difficult for you to control your lies. So a person who just lies all the time about things, we call them compulsive liars. If someone is going to be offended or hurt by what you say, then white lies are told to protect the person's feelings. So this was what my part 2 was all about. It's about stopping people being offended or being hurt by what you say. So we tell the lies to protect the person's feelings. I guess some tell black lies when they are afraid of the consequences of their actions. So they tell a black lie to cover up what they have done. For example, if they have committed a crime. I guess some, we can drop the people. I guess some tell black lies, so these are the bad ones, when they're afraid, nervous, worried of the consequences of their actions, so the results of what they've done. So the black lie covers up. To cover up means to hide something. So if you've committed a crime, then you will tell a lie to cover up what you have done, to hide what you've done. Another question you might get asked about this topic is, do you think it is important to teach children to be honest? Well, obviously, absolutely, children must be taught the difference between right and wrong. Remember in a part 3, instead of just going, yes, I think, no, I think, absolutely, this makes it very strong and a much better answer. The difference between right and wrong is what children need to be taught, so they know that's wrong and that's right. No child is born a pathological liar. This is learnt behaviour, so you must teach them to be truthful. A pathological liar is like a compulsive liar, so they tell lies and they can't control it. But what I'm saying here is that every child is good when they're born, and they're not born a pathological liar, but they learn this behaviour. It's learnt behaviour. So you have to teach children to be truthful and not teach them to be liars. However, children can be brutally honest and tell you if they don't like something or you look fat. So we need to teach them that honesty is not always the best policy. And sometimes we have to be careful about what we say so we don't offend others. Brutally honest. This is really, really honest in quite a cruel and bad way. Honesty is not always the best policy. We have a proverb. This is a saying that's been around for a long time. Honesty is the best policy. And this is used to say that telling the truth is better than lying, even if it is hard to do. And a lot of children are taught this. Honesty is the best policy. However, if your honesty will hurt somebody, so if your wife says, do I look fat in this? And if your honesty is going to hurt them, if you say yes, then really honesty is not always the best policy. And sometimes it's better to tell these little white lies. So it's very difficult with children. On the one hand, we want them to be honest and truthful, but on the other, we need to learn how to not hurt people's feelings, not offend people, and that sometimes being brutally honest is not always the best policy. It's not always the best rule. So it's a difficult one, that one. With as a parent, I know how difficult it is. I always want my children to tell the truth. But then when my son told me one day I'm a little bit fat, then that hurt. So it is very tricky. But here you can look at both sides of the argument. And remember that part 3 is like a mini essay. So if you can add something to balance out the argument, then the IELTS examiner will be impressed. Hope you found those ideas and this language useful. Thank you for watching.